the S&P 500 cracks 5,000. For the first time in history, on February 9th, 2024, the S&P 500 surpassed the 5,000 mark. So it's reached an all-new high, all-time high, and a special number, I think, in our minds. The S&P 500 surpasses 5,000. Why is this important? If you don't track the value of the S&P 500, these are all just kind of arbitrary numbers, right? But it goes into focus when we look at these values over time. There's a tremendous value in paying attention to this over time. If you listen to me for a while, you know that I like 30-year periods. Seems like most people start saving in earnest for retirement right around 30, kind of in their low 30s. And then they work and they retire right around 60, 65. That gives a nice 30-year period there. That's 60 or 59 and a half, which is tedious to say. So we'll just say 60 is when you can start accessing your retirement funds for the first time penalty free. And in an average two-person retirement of a couple that retires at 60, at least one of them will live till age 90. So these are nice round figures, round periods for analysis. 30 years of working and saving in earnest, 30 years of being retired. Crisp 30-year periods to save for retirement and live in retirement. And so tracking the S&P 500 over time gives us tremendous value, and we've talked about these things before, but I think it bears repeating over and over and over again. Do you want to guess what the value of the S&P 500 was 30 years ago? On February 9th, 1994, exactly 30 years before it broke 5,000. Go ahead, guess. Choose a number between, whatever it is, it's less than 5,000, obviously, but choose a number and hold it in your mind. What do you think the S&P 500 was worth 30 years ago? I'll wait. Do you have a number in your mind? Well, here's the truth. On February 9th, 1994, the S&P 500 opened at 471. 471. The value of the S&P 500 went from 471 to over 5,000 in 30 years. It's up more than 10 times. But wait, there's more. Because when you're a co-owner of the best businesses in the world, you get the profits that those companies pay in the form of dividends. The S&P 500 paid a dividend of $70.30 in 2023. So for every one share of the S&P 500 you owned, you got $70.30 in 2023. In isolation, again, this number doesn't mean anything to us. But what about back in 1994? That dividend was $13.30. So the profits paid by the 500 largest companies in the US to their owners grew 5.3x over the last 30 years. So again, the values of the S&P 500 have grown 10x, and the profits that they paid have grown 5x. Put them together, and what have you got? Total return. The S&P 500, again, the values grew 10x, the dividends grew 5x, and if you reinvested those, you wouldn't just get 15x. Because that's not how that works, right? You're reinvesting those dividends over time. They're not all being reinvested at the end. And so if you put those together, you would actually be up 17x, 17 times over the last 30 years. If you'd put $10,000 in 30 years ago, you would have $170,000 today. But what about the main alternative? What about bonds, the other main asset class that people invest in? Over the last 30 years, the US bond market is up 3.4x. 3.4x. Yep, 3.4 versus 17. That's the power of investing in bonds versus in the best businesses in the world. It's because bonds bomb and equities are the best. $10,000 invested in bonds 30 years ago would be $34,000 now. $10,000 invested in equities would be worth $172,000 now. In the video for this and in the blog, if you go to retirementmentorship.com/154, it'll bring you to the blog. It's a couple of graphs here that will show you the difference over time, so just so you can see it between bonds and equities. Again, how does all this compare with inflation, right? Because 10x sounds great, but you remember everything has gotten more expensive in the last 30 years. Well, inflation has averaged 2.5% each year over that time. And so the cost of everything that you need and want to buy has about doubled since 1993. So let's lay that out, right? Again, cost of living is up 2 times. Bonds are up 3.4 times, and equities are up 17 times. So if we adjust those, if we take the real return of bonds and equities, we have another graph in the blog and in the video of what this means. That means that we have in the end $10,000 30 years ago minus inflation. Take all that out, you're still at $16,000 for bonds, $80,000 for equities. So which is safer? Which is the safer investment in your earning years? Which is the safer investment in your retired years between bonds and equities? I'll give you a hint. The answer is actually the same. The answer is actually the same. And here's the thing. We celebrate now the S&P 500 hitting 5,000. And that's a great milestone. It just feels good, feels right. But here's a stock market prediction that I'm going to make. At some point in the future, you will see the headline, S&P 500 cracks 10,000. S&P 500 cracks 10,000. It will happen. It's only a matter of time. It's not whether it happens or if it happens. It will happen. We just don't know when. If the value of the S&P 500 can be up 10 times in 30 years, it will go up 2 times again. The only question is that you need to ask yourself is, will I be in the S&P 500 when it hits 10,000? Will I be in the S&P 500 when it hits 10,000? This is the crucial question. Millions of people have chosen to be in bonds, cash, fixed annuities, and whole life insurance, CDs, and many other safe investments over the last 10, 20, and 30 years. They have not 17x'd their money in that time. Will you make that same mistake going forward? How long will it take the S&P 500 to hit 10,000? No one knows, right? I'm just predicting that's going to happen. I'm not making a prediction of when that's going to happen. It's easy out, easy caveat. But how long will it take your 5% CDs, bonds, annuities, and other insurance products to double? Well, at 5%, it'll take 14 years for that money to double. But I'm guessing this, right? That if the S&P 500 can 17x in 30 years, I think it can double long before 14 years. And here's the thing, right? Investing in equities is a wild ride. Being co-owners of the best business in the world has its ups and downs. It's not easy, but that's what we're here for, right? My primary role is not to pick the best performing stock or fund or index over the next 30 years, because no one can do that. It's not to predict when the market will go up and when it will go down, because no one can do that either. My job is to ensure that when, not if, that S&P 500 goes from 5,000 to 10,000, that you own it. And it's going to be fun when that happens. Stay the course. We'll see you next week. If you enjoyed that, you would love being part of our free membership community. It's called Retire Membership, and it has a host of benefits, all for free. For example, you can always buy my book, 3D Retirement Income, on Amazon. But if you join us at Retire Membership, we will send you either a hard copy or paperback for free, provide the ebook and the audiobook so that you can listen to it if you don't have time to read it. In addition to that, we'll also provide you with a bunch of content that you can't get anywhere else. For example, we have our quarterly Retire Mentorship magazine, which comes out quarterly and has no ads whatsoever. It's just timely content to help you stay the course. We also have workbooks for our free online workshop to help you get the most out of those, flowcharts to help you make better decisions, and a weekly email to provide timely content that you can unsubscribe from at any time. We never ask for any payment information, and we never share your information with anyone else. We just want to provide timely content and help you stay the course to retire successfully and stay successfully retired. There's no reason to wait, so join us now at retiremembership.com, where you can click in the link in the description and it'll go right there. We can't wait to see you in the community. Cheers.